Hey y'all, it is Liv, and we're gonna do my March reading wrap up. A little bit late, but hey, better late than never. Usually I do this in my reset videos, but I'm gonna do them separately this month and maybe going forward. We're gonna start with nonfiction because I only read one nonfiction book this past month. Read three books, and one of which was nonfiction. So let's get into it. I read True Story, What Reality TV Says About Us. I found out about this book and the author because Danielle J. Lindman, the author, was interviewed slash featured in the documentary Shiny Happy People, which I watched, which dives into like Christian fundamentalism and the culty aspect of it all and how that's problematic. And she talks about 19 Kids and Counting in a couple of the chapters of the book. And I really enjoyed this book. And I thought it was so interesting, obviously, because of all the tabbing and highlighting that I did. You could tell that I just devoured this. It reminds me of why I love nonfiction. Like, I feel like I get to learn about so many things that I otherwise wouldn't see through that lens. And I really enjoyed it. I think if you're someone that likes reality TV, like I watched The Bachelor and Love is Blind and shows like that, and they do talk about The Bachelor and The Bachelorette in this book as well. I believe in the chapter about gender, because it's divided into sections based on different topics, like class, race, gender, and it was just so interesting. I think I gave it 5 stars. And I just absolutely loved it. I could definitely see myself rereading this. Next is one of the fiction books I read, which was Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. I picked this book up because I know that the movie adaptation of this book is coming out in May, so I wanted to read it beforehand. I just feel like you get the full experience with a John Green book or any book that a movie is based off of when you read it beforehand. And I know that John Green is always really involved in the movie making process whenever there's a movie made based off of one of his books, so it's always going to be really good. I loved it. Definitely a trigger warning if you struggle with like OCD and anxiety. Like, it's definitely a really raw, authentic portrayal of OCD, but if that's something, maybe if you struggle with that and you feel like it would be too much for you, then definitely keep that in mind when you think about whether or not you're going to read this book. Other than that, I loved it. It definitely was a bit like odd, but also like that's kind of what I was expecting. And the ending was half expected, half not expecting. I thought the characters were really good. I could definitely relate to the main character, Alza, and how she struggles with like anxiety and intrusive thoughts, because I also struggle with that. I don't listen to them as much as she does, but yeah. I absolutely, like, I really enjoyed this. I gave it like 4.5 stars on Storygraph. So yeah, highly recommend. And I will be linking all of the books in that with like Amazon storefront links in the comment section of this video if y'all want to purchase them. Next, I also just realized I did these in the order that I finished them. But yeah, the last book is the book that I read for the book club that I'm in, which is Tom Link by Anne Patchett. This is also a Reese's book club pick, and I loved this book. It is a journey through and through. It is about this woman whose name is Laura, and her husband and 3 daughters are living together during the pandemic, which I thought would make it feel like sadder, but it really didn't. Like, it kind of reminded me of like some of the good memories I made with my family when we were all living together during the pandemic. And she's like telling them the story of how she used to date this famous actor, whose name is Peter Duke, when she was an actress at this summer theater. She played Emily in Our Town, which I actually haven't seen. I feel like you would be able to envision the story much better if you have seen the play. Like I could understand it based on how she was describing it, but like I'd love to read it after seeing the play. And all her daughters are so different, and their reactions to the story are so unique. And it's also interesting knowing what happens in present day, and like you think you know the story until like the last few chapters so much happens, and I was just like crying at like 2 in the morning. Like this was I don't want to spoil this book. I may do a spoiler filled review. But like I loved it. There were the only reason why it wasn't like 5 stars for me, it was like 4 stars, was because there were certain parts where I feel like it seemed like she was holding back, even though the book's told in like first person. Like I loved the way it was written and the way that Laura like speaks and tells the story. But I also felt like sometimes she was like not quite describing things to the length that I would have preferred. And I also sometimes would have wanted a bit more about like her story with like her and Joe. And I also had mixed feelings about some parts of the ending, even though I feel like it definitely makes sense and it's great writing. But it just like left me feeling like so just like distraught, even though that sounds a bit dramatic. But yeah, definitely a journey. I know that a lot of readers feel differently about some things that happen at the end. But yeah, rated it, I think it was either 4 stars or 4.5 stars on Storygraph. So yeah, that is everything that I read in March. Let me know what you are currently reading in the comments section if you're reading anything. If not, it's totally fine. Reading, it's not everyone's thing, but obviously it's mine. And also give this video a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe. I've got a lot of great videos planned. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.